Okay, so today we talked about vertex form of quadratics. The past 2 days we talked about standard form, which is ax squared plus bx plus c, and we had to use the negative b over 2a to find the vertex. Well, vertex form, you should be able to see the vertex right away. So right here is our vertex form, a times x minus h squared plus k. The hk, so those two values right there are your vertex. And then the axis of symmetry is like normal, the x value of your vertex. So x equals h, which is there. So example 1, I want to graph this function, y equals 2/3 x plus 1 squared minus 2. So your very first step is to find the vertex. Okay, so the vertex in this is represented by hk. And if we notice here, it's x minus that h. So in order to get a positive 1, I would have to minus a negative. So I'd have negative 1, and then plus, it would just stay the same. So minus 2. So there's our vertex. So let's go ahead and plot that. Negative 1, negative 2. Then after you find the vertex, we need to figure out what that y-intercept is. So last time we could just look and it was the c value. Well, this case, it doesn't that doesn't happen to matter, because we don't have a c in our equation. So what we need to do is plug in 0 for x, because we know that x coordinate is always 0. And when we do that, we can solve and get our y-intercept. So I'm going to take 2/3, 0 plus 1 squared minus 2. Alright, now doing order of operations, let's add here. 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 squared is 1. 1 times 2/3 is 2/3. Subtract 2. So when we subtract 2, I get negative 1 and 1/3. So now my y-intercept is 0 and negative 1 and 1/3. So if we graph that, it's going to be somewhere around there. The other thing that we noticed from yesterday and the day before is we have an axis of symmetry at x equals negative 1. So there's your x equals h. And we can find the third point by reflecting this across. So now we have that, and we have our parabola. And the other thing you should know is, since this is positive, then it should open up. So we know that that's correct, because it does indeed open up. Alright, so that was example 1. Example 2, I want to write the vertex form of this graph. So now we're going to go from graph to equation. Well, I'm going to write vertex form so we have that to reference. So there's our vertex form. And the very first thing is I want to figure out what that vertex is, so I know what my hk is. Well, if I go down here, it's labeled for me. I know it's kind of blurry on this, but it says 2, negative 5. So there's your hk. Now, the other thing that we need to figure out is this a. Well, we have the hk, and we also have another point labeled that we can use and plug in for x and y, and that will allow us to solve for a. So to find a, we're going to plug in the vertex and other point and solve. So the other point is negative 3, 0, or 0, negative 3. So negative 3 is the y value. I don't know a. X is 0, h is 2, and k is negative 5. So here's what we have. So let's solve. 0 minus 2 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. So this becomes 4a. Then if we add 5, I get 2. Divide by 4, we get 1/2. So your a is 1/2. Now, after you figure out what a is, you need to write it into that vertex form. Okay, in order for it to be an equation, you need an x and y. So I'm going to leave x and y as they are, and just plug in my a and my h and my k. So there is the vertex form of this graph. On example 3, just wants us to find the vertex and the y-intercept of this function. So the very first step is, again, to find the vertex. And I know that this represents hk. And remember, it's a minus the h. So in order to get a positive here, I would have to get a negative 5 and then a positive 8. So there's your vertex. That's the first thing done. Then to find the y-intercept, if you remember from this first problem, there we go, we plug in 0 for x. So we're going to do that same process here. So I'm going to take -2, 0 plus 5 squared plus 8. Okay, if we go ahead and solve this, 0 plus 5 is 5. 5 squared is 25. 25 times -2 is -50. Okay, and then -50 plus 8 is -42. So my y-intercept is 0, -42. Okay, that's all it asks for. It does not ask for you to graph it in this case. So I'm just going to stop there. Alright, last but least is example 4, where I want to write from standard form into vertex form. So I have 3x squared plus 12x minus 1. So in order for me to write it in vertex form, I need the vertex. Well, when we did something like this yesterday, we did the negative b over 2a process. So that gave me the x value of the vertex, and then to figure out what the y value is, we took it and plugged it back in. So that's what I'm going to do here. So I have -12 over 2 times 3, which is -12 over 6, which is -2. So there's your x value of your vertex. Then to figure out what the y value is, take it, plug it back in. So if we solve, that's 4 times 3 is 12. That's -24 minus 1. So 12 minus 4 is -12 minus 1, and that would be -13. So here's your vertex, -2, -13. Now, the other thing that I need is the a. So here's our vertex again, vertex form again, and I need that a value. Well, if you remember, this is ax squared plus bx plus c, so these a's are the same as this a. So in here, a is 3, so again, my a will be 3. So when we take that a is 3, we'll plug everything in. So 3 times x minus the -2 would be plus 2 squared minus 13. So there's our equation in vertex form. Alright, the assignment for this is A11, page 259, numbers 9 through 20, 25 through 30, and 42. If you have any questions, please let me know, and good luck.